the woman he threw away. At 34 weeks pregnant, Claire Bennett discovered that 7 years of marriage could be destroyed in less than 5 minutes. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. She was standing in the kitchen barefoot, stirring tomato sauce while her unborn son pushed painfully against her ribs. Daniel had promised to be home by 7. It was already after 8 when Claire finally heard his key in the front door. She smiled automatically. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. Daniel entered the kitchen but didn't kiss her. That was the first thing she noticed. The second was that he hadn't taken off his coat. He stood beside the kitchen island with his car keys in one hand and looked at her with an expression Claire had never seen before. Not anger. Not sadness. Decision. "Claire," he said. "We need to talk." Something inside her tightened. She turned off the stove. What happened? Daniel didn't answer immediately. Claire rested a hand beneath her stomach. "Is it the company?" "No." "Your mother?" "No." "Then what?" He looked straight at her. "I'm leaving." Claire blinked. "For where?" The question escaped before she understood what he'd meant. Daniel lowered his eyes. "I'm leaving you." For several seconds, Claire heard nothing but the rain tapping against the windows. Then she laughed. A small nervous laugh. "Okay, that's not funny." "I'm not joking." Her smile disappeared. "What are you talking about?" "I've been thinking about this for months." "Thinking about what?" "Us." Claire stared at him. 3 weeks earlier, Daniel had built their son's crib. 6 days earlier they'd argued about baby names. That morning he'd kissed her stomach before leaving for work. "You're serious?" "Yes." Her fingers curled around the countertop. "Why?" Daniel inhaled slowly. "Because I'm in love with someone else." The baby moved inside her. Claire looked down instinctively, then back at her husband. "Who?" Daniel looked toward the living room. Claire's heartbeat accelerated. "Who is she?" "Claire, you're 8 months pregnant. I don't want you getting worked up." She stared at him in disbelief. "You just told me you're leaving me for another woman." "I know. So answer me." He said nothing. That silence was worse than any name. Then headlights swept across the kitchen wall. A car pulled into their driveway. Claire turned toward the window. "Are you expecting someone?" Daniel's expression changed. The doorbell rang. Claire looked at him. "Daniel." "I'll get it." He moved quickly toward the hallway. Claire followed. "Who's at the door?" "Claire, wait." The bell rang again. Daniel stepped in front of her. "Please." That single word terrified her. Claire pushed past him. She opened the front door and saw Vanessa Reed standing on the porch. Her best friend. Her closest friend since college. The woman who had been maid of honor at Claire's wedding. The woman who had sat beside her during fertility treatments. The woman who had cried when Claire finally became pregnant. The woman who had thrown Claire a baby shower 6 weeks earlier. Vanessa stood beneath the porch light in a beige coat. A suitcase rested beside her. Claire stared at the suitcase, then at Vanessa, then slowly turned toward Daniel. "No." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "Claire." "No. Please let me explain." Claire backed away. "You." Vanessa reached toward her. Claire recoiled. "Don't touch me." "I'm sorry." "Don't touch me." Daniel grabbed Claire's shoulder. "Calm down." She ripped herself free. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down." A sharp pain crossed her stomach. Claire gasped. Daniel stepped toward her. "Are you okay?" She looked at him. "Am I okay?" His face tightened. "I'm worried about the baby." "You should have thought about the baby before you brought your mistress to our front door." Vanessa started crying. "Claire, it wasn't supposed to happen like this." Claire laughed bitterly. "How was it supposed to happen?" No one answered. "At the baby shower?" Vanessa lowered her eyes. "When you were cutting cake beside me?" "Claire." "When you hugged me and told me Daniel was lucky to have me?" Vanessa covered her mouth. Claire looked at Daniel. "How long?" He didn't answer. "How long have you been sleeping with her?" 11 months. Claire went still. She counted backward, then wished she hadn't. "You were sleeping with her while we were trying to have this baby?" Vanessa whispered. "Yes." Claire stared at Daniel. "You went to fertility appointments with me." I know. You held my hand while the doctor told us we might never have children. Daniel looked away. You watched me inject hormones into my body every night. Claire. And then you went to her? Daniel's silence answered. Claire's eyes burned. You let me believe we were happy. Daniel's expression hardened. We weren't happy. That hurt more than she expected. You became obsessed with having a baby. Doctors' tests, schedules. There wasn't room for anything else. Claire stared at him. So you slept with my best friend. I didn't plan it. Vanessa whispered. Neither did I. Claire turned toward her. You don't get to say that. Vanessa flinched. You knew everything about me. I know. You knew every time Daniel and I fought. I know. You knew when I cried because I thought he didn't love me anymore. Vanessa's tears fell faster. And you told me I was imagining things. I was afraid. Of what? Losing you. Claire stared at her. You should have thought about that before sleeping with my husband. Daniel rubbed his forehead. This is going nowhere. Claire looked at him. My marriage is ending and you're bored? I didn't say that. You don't have to. Daniel picked up his keys. I love Vanessa. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Claire's throat tightened. I'm carrying your son. I know. He'll be born in 6 weeks. I know. And you're leaving now? Daniel hesitated, then said quietly, yes. Claire turned toward Vanessa. And you're going with him. Vanessa said nothing. Claire's eyes dropped to the suitcase again. Of course. They had planned everything. This wasn't an affair being confessed. It was a transition. Daniel was moving from one woman to another. From one life to another. And Claire was simply the piece that needed to be removed. She slowly closed the front door. Fine. Daniel frowned. What? You wanted to talk. So talk. Claire walked into the living room. She remained standing while Daniel and Vanessa sat opposite her. Wedding photographs surrounded them. Claire noticed one picture on the mantel. Their wedding day. Daniel beside her. Vanessa behind them laughing. Claire couldn't stop looking at it. What happens now? She asked. Daniel leaned forward. I'll stay with Vanessa. Claire nodded. And me. We'll arrange everything through lawyers. What does that mean? You'll need to find somewhere else to live. Claire thought she'd misheard. What? Daniel avoided her eyes. The house is tied to the business. No, it isn't. It is now. Claire's pulse slowed strangely. What did you do? I refinanced it. When? 3 months ago. Claire remembered the papers. Daniel had brought documents home. Yellow stickers marked where she needed to sign. She had been exhausted, swollen, 5 months pregnant. He'd told her they were routine business papers. She had signed without reading every page. Because she trusted him. You lied to me. I didn't lie. You told me those papers were for the company. They were. You didn't tell me our house was collateral. You could have read them. Claire stared at him. The cruelty was almost elegant. 7 years of trust reduced to one sentence. Asterisk, you could have read them. Asterisk. When do I have to leave? Daniel took a breath. 30 days. Vanessa looked at him sharply. Daniel. Claire didn't move. 30 days. The bank needs possession before the end of next month. My baby is due next month. I know. Where do you expect me to go? You can stay with your mother. She lives 600 miles away. Then find an apartment. With what money? Daniel frowned. What do you mean? Claire looked at him. Something suddenly felt wrong. She grabbed her phone. Their savings account. For 7 years they built it together. Daniel's business income. Claire's salary. Her grandmother's inheritance. Nearly $180,000. Claire entered the banking password. The account loaded. Her breathing stopped. Available balance. $1,842. 16 asterisk asterisk. She stared at the screen. No. Daniel stood. Claire. She looked at him. Where is the money? We'll discuss finances separately. Where is our money? Vanessa rose. Daniel, what did you do? Claire turned toward her. You didn't know? Vanessa's face went pale. Daniel snapped. Stay out of it. Claire laughed. Now she should stay out of our marriage? Daniel clenched his jaw. Most of that money came from my company. My grandmother left me $40,000. I know. You took that too? Silence. Claire's eyes filled with tears. You emptied the account. I moved the money. Where? Somewhere secure. Whose name? Daniel didn't answer. Claire looked at Vanessa. Yours. No, Vanessa said quickly, but something in her face made Claire uncertain. Daniel picked up his briefcase. You'll be taken care of. Claire stared at him. You're taking my home, my savings, and my husband, and you're telling me I'll be taken care of? Don't make this dramatic. For a second, Claire couldn't speak. Then she started laughing. Not because anything was funny, because if she didn't laugh, she might scream. Dramatic. Daniel looked uncomfortable. I didn't mean. No. You did. Claire wiped the tears from her face. You planned this. Daniel said nothing. How long? Claire. How long have you been planning to leave me? A few months. And the money? Silence. And the house? More silence. Claire understood. This wasn't only betrayal. Daniel had been preparing. While she painted the nursery. While she washed tiny baby clothes. While she talked about their son's future. Her husband had been quietly arranging her removal from his life. She looked toward Vanessa. You knew about the house? Vanessa shook her head. No. The money. I knew Daniel was restructuring things, but you knew. Not everything. Claire stepped closer. You were going to live here, weren't you? Vanessa froze. In my house. No. In my bedroom? Claire. Were you going to sleep in my bed while my baby's crib was in the next room? Stop. Were you going to move your clothes into my closet? Stop. Vanessa's voice cracked. The room fell silent. She began crying. I didn't want this. Claire looked at her. You wanted him. Vanessa lowered her face. You just didn't want to see what getting him actually cost. Daniel grabbed his coat. We're leaving. Claire turned toward him. One question. He stopped. Was any of it real? Daniel frowned. What? The last 7 years. Her voice broke despite everything. The marriage. The house. The plans. This baby. Daniel looked at her stomach. For 1 second, something softened in his face. Claire almost hated herself for hoping. Then he said, I think one day you'll realize this is better for everyone. Claire stared at him. Then she opened the door. Get out. Daniel left first. Vanessa picked up her suitcase. At the doorway she stopped. There is something you don't know about him. Claire looked at her. What? Vanessa glanced toward Daniel's car. Fear crossed her face. Then she shook her head. Nothing. Vanessa. I'm sorry. She hurried outside. Claire watched them drive away together. Only when the taillights disappeared did she close the door. The silence was unbearable. Claire climbed upstairs. The nursery door stood open. Soft blue walls. A white crib. Wooden stars above it. A tiny stuffed bear Daniel had bought 2 weeks earlier. Claire sat on the floor. Then the sob came. Deep. Violent. She folded over her stomach and cried until she couldn't breathe. I'm sorry. The baby kicked. Claire pressed both hands against him. No, sweetheart. Another kick. You didn't do anything. She stayed there for hours. At 1:13 a.m. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Asterisk, I'll have my lawyer send the paperwork tomorrow. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Asterisk. Claire stared at the screen. Another message appeared. Asterisk, and don't touch anything connected to the company. Asterisk. Claire stopped crying. She read the message again. Why would he say that? She slowly stood. Went downstairs. Opened her laptop. Daniel had always handled most of the business finances, but Claire still had access to old statements. She searched. Transfers. Invoices. Accounts. At 2:41 a.m. She found something strange. A payment from Daniel's company. $240,000. Transferred 6 months earlier. Recipient. VR Holdings LLC. Claire stared at the initials. VR Vanessa Reed. Another transfer. $75,000. Then $110,000. Then dozens of smaller payments. Some dated before Daniel claimed the affair had begun. Claire's exhaustion vanished. She opened more files. The numbers didn't make sense. Money moved between companies. Loans appeared and disappeared. Several documents carried Claire's electronic signature, but she had never seen them. Her phone rang. Unknown number. 2:57 a.m. Claire hesitated, then answered. Hello. A man's voice spoke. Mrs. Bennett? Yes. My name is Marcus Hale. I used to work for your husband. Claire remembered him. Daniel had fired Marcus 9 months earlier. What do you want? I heard Daniel left tonight. Claire's fingers tightened around the phone. How do you know? Because he told people he was going to. Her stomach twisted. What people? Listen to me carefully. Don't sign anything Daniel sends you. Claire looked at the laptop. Why? Because your husband has been preparing for this for months. She stared at VR Holdings. What is VR Holdings? Silence. Then Marcus asked. How do you know that name? I found transfers. How many? A lot. Marcus cursed quietly. What is it? Mrs. Bennett, I can't explain everything over the phone. You called me. Because I thought you deserved a warning. About what? Another pause. Then he said. Daniel isn't just leaving you. Claire's heart began pounding. He's setting you up. For what? To take responsibility for something he did. The call disconnected. Claire stared at the phone. She called back immediately. Unavailable. She didn't sleep. The next morning, legal papers arrived by courier. Claire sat at the kitchen table and read them slowly. Loan guarantees. Corporate obligations. Business debts. Her name appeared everywhere. Her signature appeared too. Some signatures were real. Others weren't. One in particular made her blood turn cold. Daniel had forged it. According to the paperwork, Claire Bennett could be personally responsible for millions in corporate debt. Her phone rang. Daniel. She answered. You forged my name. Silence. Then. Claire, you're upset. Stop saying that. Give the papers to a lawyer. I found VR Holdings. Another silence. This one different. Afraid. Where did you hear that name? I found the transfers. Claire. His voice became sharp. Don't touch the company records. She almost smiled. Yesterday he'd had all the power. Now for the first time Daniel sounded frightened. Why? Because you don't understand what you're looking at. Then explain it. I can't. Or you won't. Claire, listen to me. No. She ended the call. 10 seconds later he called again. She declined it. That afternoon, Marcus texted her an address. A small coffee shop 2 towns away. Claire almost didn't go. But fear was no longer enough to keep her home. Marcus sat in a corner booth. He looked older than she remembered. Nervous. He slid a flash drive across the table. What's this? Copies. Of what? Financial records. Claire didn't touch it. Why are you helping me? I'm helping myself too. At least he was honest. Daniel's company has been losing money for almost 2 years. Claire frowned. He told me profits were higher than ever. Revenue was high. Debt was higher. How bad? Very. Marcus leaned forward. Daniel borrowed aggressively. When projects failed, he started moving money between companies to hide the losses. VR Holdings? Marcus nodded. Vanessa created it. Claire felt sick. For the affair? No. What? VR Holdings existed before the affair allegedly started. Claire stared at him. Daniel said they've been together 11 months. The company was created 14 months ago. Something cold moved through her. So the money came first. Maybe. And Vanessa helped him? Yes. How much? I don't know. Guess. Marcus lowered his voice. Over $1 million. Claire leaned back. Her best friend hadn't merely stolen her husband. She had helped him hide money. What does this have to do with me? Marcus looked directly at her. Daniel needed someone holding the liabilities when everything collapsed. Claire already knew the answer. Me. Marcus said nothing. Claire swallowed. Is my name on the debt? Yes. How much? I don't know the final number. Marcus. He hesitated. Several million. Claire closed her eyes. Her son moved inside her. Suddenly the affair looked different. Still cruel. Still unforgivable. But perhaps it had also been useful. A distraction. Make Claire angry about Vanessa. Make her fight about the marriage. Make her focus on being abandoned. And while she was looking at the betrayal, Daniel could disappear. There's more, Marcus said. Claire opened her eyes. What? Daniel kept a backup drive at home. Where? In his study. Claire remembered the safe behind Daniel's framed business award. That night she opened it. The code wasn't their anniversary. Not Daniel's birthday. Not the baby's due date. Almost without thinking, Claire entered Vanessa's birthday. The lock clicked. Claire stood motionless. Then she opened the safe. Inside were contracts, cash, passports, and a black external drive. She connected it to Daniel's old desktop. Password protected. Claire tried several combinations. Nothing. Then, almost bitterly, she typed her own name. Claire. The drive opened. Her breath caught. Dozens of folders appeared. Financial records. Loan documents. Bank statements. Then one folder. TB. Claire opened it. Her name appeared everywhere. Guarantees. Authorizations. Signatures. Many forged. Then she saw a text file. Created 8 months earlier. She opened it. 4 lines. Phase 1 transfer liquid assets. Phase 2 restructure ownership. Phase 3 separate personal liability. Phase 4 CB. Assumes exposure. Claire stared at the final line. Thieves B. Claire Bennett. He had planned it. Before she knew about Vanessa. Before the baby shower. Possibly before the pregnancy. Then she heard the front door open downstairs. Claire froze. Footsteps. Someone was inside the house. She pulled the drive free and hid it beneath her dress. The footsteps reached the stairs. Claire. Her blood ran cold. But it wasn't Daniel. Vanessa appeared in the hallway. What are you doing here? Claire demanded. I need to talk to you. How did you get in? Vanessa lifted a key. Claire laughed bitterly. Of course. Then Vanessa noticed the open safe. Her face changed. You opened it. Claire stared at her. You knew it was here. Vanessa didn't answer. Marcus told me about VR Holdings. Fear flashed across Vanessa's face. He contacted you? Yes. You need to stop talking to him. Why? You don't understand what you're involved in. Then explain it. Vanessa looked toward the stairs. Daniel didn't take the money to start a life with me. Claire's eyes narrowed. What? He told me he did. Why? Because he needed you angry. Claire said nothing. Vanessa continued. If you're angry about me, you fight about the affair. Her voice trembled. You fight about the house. The marriage. The baby. She looked directly at Claire. You don't look at the company. Claire felt the hidden drive against her skin. What did Daniel do? I don't know everything. You helped him. Vanessa looked down. Yes. The admission struck harder than denial would have. How much money did you move? I don't know. How much? More than $1 million. Claire grabbed the edge of the desk. And where is it? Vanessa looked up. Gone. What? He emptied VR Holdings yesterday. Claire stared at her. All of it? Yes. Where did he send it? I don't know. Why should I believe you? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Because he betrayed me too. Claire almost laughed. You want sympathy? No. Good. Vanessa wiped her face. I came because there's something else. What? Daniel is planning to leave the country. Claire went still. When? I don't know. With you? No. For the first time, Claire saw genuine panic in Vanessa. Daniel stopped answering me this morning. Headlights suddenly swept across the wall. Vanessa froze. No. Claire looked through the window. A black sedan pulled into the driveway. Daniel stepped out. Vanessa whispered. He wasn't supposed to come back. Claire turned toward her. How do you know? The front door opened. Claire. Daniel's voice echoed downstairs. Vanessa grabbed her arm. If he asks, you never opened that safe. Claire pulled away. Why? Because he needs that drive. Daniel's footsteps started up the stairs. Vanessa backed toward the guest room. He can't know I'm here. Before Claire could answer, Vanessa disappeared. Daniel reached the top of the stairs. He saw Claire. Then the open study. Then the crooked picture hiding the safe. His expression changed. Why are you in my office? Claire forced herself to remain calm. I live here. For another month. His eyes moved past her. Toward the safe. He entered the study. Opened it. Looked inside. Then slowly turned. Where is the drive? Claire met his eyes. What drive? Daniel stepped toward her. You have no idea what you've done. A floorboard creaked. Daniel looked toward the hallway. Vanessa stood there. His face went white. Vanessa. She didn't move. Daniel looked from her to Claire. You two have been talking. Vanessa whispered. Give Claire her money back. Daniel laughed once. There is no money. Claire stared at him. What? The company is finished. How finished? Daniel said nothing. Claire stepped closer. How much debt? He looked at her. Then finally answered. 11 million. Claire's breath stopped. And whose name is attached to it? Silence. My name. Daniel looked away. Vanessa whispered. Oh my God. Claire stared at him. You were going to leave me pregnant, homeless, and responsible for $11 million? It wasn't supposed to happen this way. How was it supposed to happen? Daniel suddenly shouted. I was supposed to fix it. The house went silent. He ran both hands through his hair. I needed time. So you used me. I used everyone. The words hung in the air. Vanessa stared at him. Claire finally understood. Whatever Daniel felt for either woman was meaningless beside his instinct to save himself. Give me the drive, he said. No. Claire. No. That drive is company property. It contains my forged signature. Daniel stepped closer. Give it to me. Vanessa moved between them. Don't. Daniel's face hardened. Move. No. Then Claire felt something warm run down her leg. She froze. Another gush followed. Vanessa looked down. Her eyes widened. Oh my God. Claire grabbed the wall. Pain suddenly wrapped around her stomach. Hard. Violent. Too early. No. Vanessa rushed toward her. Claire. My baby. Daniel went pale. Claire doubled over as another contraction hit. Call an ambulance. Vanessa screamed at Daniel. He pulled out his phone. Claire barely heard him speaking. She clutched Vanessa's arm. He's too early. I know. I can't have him yet. You're going to be okay. But Vanessa's face said she wasn't sure. The ambulance arrived minutes later. Paramedics placed Claire on a stretcher. Daniel tried to follow. I'm his father. Claire looked at him. For 7 years those words would have meant something. Now they didn't. She reached beneath the blanket, pulled out the flash drive, and pressed it into the hand of a paramedic. Keep this with me. Daniel saw it. His face changed instantly. Claire. The ambulance doors began to close. Give me the drive. Claire stared at him. Even now. Even while his son might be coming too early. Even while she lay terrified on a stretcher. Daniel was still thinking about himself. The doors slammed shut. The ambulance pulled away. Claire placed both hands over her stomach. You and me, she whispered. Another contraction hit. She cried out. Then whispered again. You and me. The fetal monitor beside her started beeping faster. One paramedic looked at the screen. Her expression changed. Claire saw it. What? No answer. What happened? The paramedic adjusted the monitor. Claire looked at the number. The baby's heartbeat was falling. 142. Then, 119. Claire's breathing stopped. No. 97. The paramedic grabbed the radio. We need obstetrics ready. 34 weeks, premature rupture, fetal distress. Claire grabbed her arm. Is my baby okay? Claire, stay with me. Is he okay? The number fell again. 81. Claire began to cry. Oliver. It was the name she and Daniel had chosen together. But now she whispered it alone. Oliver, stay with Mommy. The hospital lights appeared beyond the rain-covered windows. The monitor screamed. And as Claire was rushed toward the emergency entrance, she had no idea that Daniel Bennett would disappear before morning. She didn't know Vanessa would make one decision that would change all three of their lives. And she couldn't imagine that years later Daniel would walk into the office of a powerful CEO, hoping for a second chance, only to find Claire sitting behind the desk. But the greatest shock would not be seeing the wife he'd thrown away. It would be the little boy who would run into that office, wrap his arms around Claire and call her Mom. For now, however, Claire had only one fight: keeping that little boy alive. His heartbeat is dropping. The words followed Claire through the emergency room doors. Bright lights flashed above her as doctors rushed the stretcher down the corridor. Where's my baby? He's still with you, Claire. Then save him. Another contraction tore through her. A doctor leaned over her. We need to perform an emergency C-section. Claire's face went white. Now. Now. She searched the corridor instinctively for Daniel, and hated herself for it. Her husband had destroyed their marriage, stolen their savings, forged her signature and tried to leave her with millions in debt. Yet some foolish part of her still expected the father of her child to appear. He didn't. Is the father coming? A nurse asked. Claire closed her eyes. No. 23 minutes later, Oliver Bennett entered the world without crying. Claire saw him for only 2 seconds. Tiny. Motionless. Then doctors carried him away. Why isn't he crying? Nobody answered. Why isn't my baby crying? A moment later Claire finally heard it. A weak sound. Barely more than a breath. But it was enough. Claire began sobbing. My baby. Then darkness swallowed her. When Claire woke, it was morning. Her first word was, Oliver. A nurse smiled gently. He's alive. Claire covered her face and cried. He's in the neonatal intensive care unit. He's small and he needs help breathing, but he's fighting. Can I see him? As soon as you're stable. Claire turned toward the empty chair beside her bed. No Daniel. No Vanessa. Her phone lay on the table. 17 missed calls. 3 from her lawyer. 4 from unknown numbers. None from Daniel. Then Claire remembered the flash drive. She panicked. The paramedic, there was a drive. Your belongings are in the drawer. Claire opened it. The black drive was there. She held it tightly. Daniel hadn't gotten it. Not yet. An hour later, her lawyer Rebecca Sloan entered the room. She looked exhausted. Claire, we have a problem. Claire almost laughed. Which one? Daniel is gone. Claire stopped smiling. What do you mean gone? His phone is off. He didn't go to his office. His car was found at the airport. Claire stared at her. He left the country? We don't know. Rebecca glanced at the drive in Claire's hand. Is that what you told me about? Claire handed it over. Make copies. I will. And don't let Daniel get it. Rebecca studied her. What exactly is on this? Proof that he forged my signature. Rebecca's expression changed. And maybe proof of where the money went. Before she could answer, someone appeared at the hospital room door. Vanessa. Claire's entire body stiffened. Rebecca stepped between them. You shouldn't be here. I need 5 minutes. Claire stared at her former friend. Vanessa looked as though she hadn't slept. Why? Vanessa slowly entered. Because Daniel left me something. She pulled an envelope from her bag. Claire recognized Daniel's handwriting. Vanessa placed it on the bed. He left it in my apartment. Claire didn't touch it. What does it say? Vanessa's voice trembled. That I was stupid enough to believe he loved me. Claire felt no satisfaction. Vanessa continued. He used VR Holdings to move money, but yesterday he transferred everything again. Where? I don't know. Rebecca interrupted. How much? Vanessa swallowed. Almost $2 million. Claire closed her eyes. And you helped him? Yes. You knew he was forging my name? No. Do you expect me to believe you? No. That answer surprised Claire. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I don't expect anything from you. She turned to leave, then stopped. There is one thing you need to know. Claire looked at her. Daniel wasn't planning to disappear alone. Who was going with him? Vanessa hesitated. I don't know. Vanessa. I heard him talking to someone 3 nights ago. A woman. Claire's stomach tightened. You. Vanessa shook her head. No. For the first time, Claire saw that Vanessa was just as shocked by the possibility as she was. There was another woman? I think so. Claire almost laughed. Daniel had betrayed his wife with her best friend, then apparently betrayed the best friend too. But Vanessa's next words erased the irony. He told her, once Claire signs the final document, we're free. Claire looked at Rebecca. What final document? Her lawyer immediately opened the envelope. Inside was a separation agreement. At the bottom was a place for Claire's signature. Rebecca scanned several pages. Then her expression hardened. If you'd signed this, you would have accepted responsibility for a significant portion of Daniel's business liabilities. Claire stared at the empty signature line. Daniel hadn't simply wanted a divorce. He had wanted her consent to destroy herself. A nurse entered. Mrs. Bennett? Your son is stable enough for you to see him. Everything else disappeared. Oliver looked impossibly small. Claire sat beside the incubator with tears running down her face. Tiny tubes surrounded him. She slipped one finger through the opening. Oliver's hand moved. 5 miniature fingers wrapped around hers. Claire broke. Hi. His grip tightened. I'm your mom. For the first time since Daniel walked out, Claire smiled. You scared me. Oliver moved slightly. Claire leaned closer. Listen to me, little man. Her voice trembled. We lost a house. She touched his tiny hand. We lost money. Another tear fell. And maybe we lost the family I thought we had. She looked at her son. But we didn't lose each other. That afternoon, Rebecca returned with news. The flash drive was more valuable than they'd realized. The records showed that many of the debts connected to Claire had been created through forged documents. It might take years to untangle everything. But Claire had something Daniel hadn't expected her to possess. Evidence. Rebecca placed a folder beside her. There is something else. What? Before Daniel disappeared, he transferred ownership of one small company. To Vanessa? No. Rebecca turned the page around. Claire stared at the name. Claire Bennett. Her heart stopped. Why would he give me a company? I don't think he meant to give you anything. Rebecca pointed toward the date. He transferred it months ago, probably as part of moving liabilities. Is it in debt? Rebecca paused. That's the strange part. Claire looked up. It owns something. What? A patent. Claire frowned. For what? Industrial logistics software. Claire almost dismissed it. Then Rebecca continued. Daniel apparently considered it worthless. How worthless? 3 years ago? Almost completely. And now? Rebecca looked at her. A major technology group filed an inquiry about licensing it yesterday. Claire stared at her. How much could it be worth? I don't know. Thousands. Rebecca slowly shook her head. Potentially millions. Claire looked through the glass at Oliver. Daniel had taken almost everything. Yet in his attempt to bury her beneath worthless assets and debt, he might have accidentally placed something valuable in her hands. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Claire answered. No voice. Only breathing. Daniel. Silence. Then a distorted male voice whispered. You should have signed the papers, Claire. The call ended. Claire stared at the phone. Rebecca immediately stood. What happened? Claire looked toward her tiny son. Daniel was gone. The money was gone. But someone was still watching her. And whoever had called knew she hadn't signed. Claire tightened her fingers around the phone. This was no longer only about surviving Daniel's betrayal. Someone wanted what Daniel had left behind. And Claire had just discovered that the thing everyone believed was worthless might be worth millions. Claire did not tell anyone about the phone call except Rebecca. Not Vanessa. Not the hospital. Not even the police at first. She simply sat beside Oliver's incubator and stared at the tiny rise and fall of his chest. Someone wanted her frightened. Someone believed fear would make her surrender. They were wrong. 3 days later, Claire received unexpected news. Oliver was breathing better. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. For the first time since his birth, Claire held him against her chest. He weighed almost nothing. Yet when he curled his fingers around hers, she felt stronger than she had in months. "You're not losing me," she whispered. "And I'm not losing you." That same afternoon, Rebecca arrived carrying a thick folder. "The patent company has made contact." Claire frowned. "Already?" "They want an exclusive licensing agreement." "How much?" Rebecca placed the proposal in front of her. Claire stared at the number. $1. $8 million upfront. She thought she had misunderstood. "This can't be real." "It is." Claire looked through the NICU glass. Daniel had transferred the company into her name because he thought it was useless. A shell. Garbage. Something to bury among his collapsing businesses. But the software patent inside it had suddenly become valuable. For the first time, Daniel's mistake had given Claire leverage. And she used it. She hired forensic accountants. She hired a second attorney. She fought every forged document. Piece by piece, the structure Daniel had built around her began to collapse. Weeks became months. Oliver came home. Claire moved into a tiny rented apartment. There was no nursery, no garden, no expensive furniture, just a second-hand crib beside her bed. But it was peaceful, and nobody could throw her out. Then Vanessa called. Claire almost ignored it. Almost. "Daniel contacted me," Vanessa said. Claire went silent. "When?" "Yesterday." "Where is he?" "I don't know." "What did he want?" Vanessa hesitated. "The patent company." Claire's blood chilled. "He knows." "Yes." "How?" "I don't know." Claire looked at Oliver sleeping nearby. "What did he say?" Vanessa's voice lowered. "He said the company belongs to him." Claire almost laughed. "It doesn't. He knows that now." "Then he should have been more careful when he tried to destroy me." There was silence. Then Vanessa whispered, "He's coming back." Claire's hand tightened around the phone. "When?" "He didn't say." Months later, Daniel did return. But not to Claire. Federal investigators found him first. The financial records on the flash drive, combined with Vanessa's testimony, exposed the transfers, forged guarantees, and hidden accounts. Daniel avoided prison through a settlement and cooperation agreement, but the damage was enormous. His company collapsed. His partners abandoned him. His reputation disappeared. And Claire never saw him. Not once. She didn't need to. She was busy building. The patent became the foundation of a new logistics technology company. Claire learned the business from the ground up. She hired people smarter than herself. She made mistakes. She lost clients. She nearly failed twice. But every time she considered giving up, she remembered Daniel standing in their hallway saying, "You'll be taken care of." Claire decided she would never again allow another person to decide what being taken care of meant. Years passed. Oliver grew into a bright, curious little boy who asked impossible questions and believed his mother could solve anything. Vanessa vanished from Claire's life completely. Daniel became little more than a name in old legal files. And Claire's company grew. One office became 3. 3 became 12. Investors arrived. Competitors called. Business magazines began mentioning her name. Then, 5 years after Daniel walked out of their home, Claire Bennett became CEO of one of the fastest-growing logistics technology companies in the country. That same year, Daniel lost the last business he still owned. He sold his apartment. His car was repossessed. Old friends stopped answering his calls. For months he searched for work. Most companies rejected him after background checks. Then one morning he received an unexpected email. A large corporation had reviewed his application. They wanted an interview. Daniel arrived early. He wore an old suit and carried the same leather briefcase he'd once taken from Claire's house. He sat in the reception area trying not to look nervous. Finally, an assistant appeared. "Mr. Bennett?" Daniel stood. "The CEO will see you now." He followed her down a glass hallway. The office doors opened. Daniel stepped inside. A woman stood with her back to him, looking out over the city. The assistant said, "Miss Bennett, your 11 o'clock interview is here." The woman turned. Daniel stopped breathing. Claire looked directly at him. Older, calmer, powerful. Daniel's briefcase nearly slipped from his hand. "Claire." She said nothing. Then a small voice came from the hallway. "Mom!" A little boy ran into the office. Daniel turned. The child rushed straight toward Claire and wrapped both arms around her. Claire smiled and kissed his hair. Daniel stared at the boy, at his face, at his eyes, at the unmistakable resemblance. And suddenly Daniel realized he wasn't merely standing in front of the wife he'd abandoned. He was standing in front of the son he had never known. Oliver looked up at him. "Mom, who is that man?" Claire's eyes remained fixed on Daniel. And for the first time in 5 years, Daniel Bennett had absolutely no idea what to say. "Mom, who is that man?" The question landed harder than any accusation Claire could have made. Daniel stared at Oliver. 5 years old. Dark hair. Gray-blue eyes almost identical to his own. His son. The baby whose crib he had assembled and then abandoned before he ever slept in it. Claire placed a hand on Oliver's shoulder. "He's here for a job interview." Daniel flinched. That was all. "Not your father. Not someone we used to know. A job applicant." Oliver looked at Daniel curiously. "Good luck." Then he hugged Claire. "Grandma's waiting downstairs. I'll see you tonight." Oliver ran toward the door. Before disappearing, he waved. Daniel raised his hand automatically, but Oliver was already gone. The door closed. Silence. Daniel swallowed. "He doesn't know who I am." Claire returned to her desk. "You came for an interview, Mr. Bennett." "Claire, sit down." He remained standing. "That's my son." Claire's expression didn't change. "He is. You never told him about me?" "I told him the truth appropriate for his age." Daniel stared at her. "What truth?" "That his father chose not to be part of his life." His face tightened. "You know it wasn't that simple." Claire almost smiled. "It was exactly that simple." Daniel looked around the office. The city stretched beyond enormous windows. Awards lined the shelves. A business magazine lay on the table with Claire's photograph on the cover. "You built all this?" "Yes." "With the patent?" "It started there." Daniel shook his head bitterly. "That patent was mine." Claire's eyes hardened. "No. The company legally belonged to me." "Because of paperwork." "The same kind of paperwork you used to put $11 million of debt in my name?" Daniel fell silent. Claire leaned back. "You taught me something valuable, Daniel." "What?" "Read before you sign." His face burned. For several seconds neither spoke. Then Daniel sat down. "I didn't know this was your company." "I know." "You knew I was coming?" "Since yesterday." "And you still agreed to interview me?" Claire folded her hands. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I wanted to see whether you've changed." Daniel looked at her. "And we haven't started yet." She opened his resume. The humiliation on his face was unmistakable. Once Daniel had interviewed executives. Now his ex-wife was deciding whether he deserved a middle management position. Claire began professionally. "Why did your last company fail?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Market conditions." "Only market conditions?" "No." "What else?" "Bad decisions." "Whose?" He hesitated. "Mine." Claire looked up. That answer surprised her. "What did you learn?" Daniel stared at the floor. "That believing you're the smartest person in the room is usually proof you're not." For a moment, Claire saw something different in him. Not arrogance. Regret. But regret was not redemption. "Why should this company trust you?" Daniel laughed quietly. "It probably shouldn't." Claire closed the resume. "Then why are you here?" His eyes finally met hers. "Because I'm tired of running." Silence filled the office. "I lost everything, Claire." She remained expressionless. "My businesses. My home. Most of my friends." "You forgot Vanessa." Daniel looked away. "She left." Claire almost corrected him. Asterisk, "You betrayed her too." Asterisk. But there was no point. Daniel continued. "I know you think I deserve what happened." I don't spend time thinking about what you deserve. That hurt him more. Claire could see it. Do you hate me? No. Daniel stared at her. Claire spoke calmly. I hated you when Oliver was in an incubator and I didn't know whether he'd survive. Daniel's eyes filled. I hated you when I learned you had forged my signature. She continued. I hated you when I moved into an apartment with a newborn and $17 left after paying the deposit. Daniel lowered his head. But hate keeps someone important. Claire looked toward the door Oliver had left through. You stopped being important a long time ago. Daniel wiped his eyes quickly. I want to meet him. Claire's gaze sharpened. No. I'm his father. Biologically. I have rights. And responsibilities. Daniel went silent. Where were those rights when he spent weeks in intensive care? I was afraid. Where were they on his first birthday? No answer. His first day of school? Daniel looked broken. Claire, please. No. He stood. I made terrible choices. You made repeated choices. I know. There's a difference. Daniel nodded slowly, then picked up his briefcase. I understand. He walked toward the door. Claire watched him. For years she had imagined this moment. She thought revenge would feel powerful. Instead she felt almost nothing. Then Daniel stopped. Without turning, he said, there is something about Vanessa you still don't know. Claire froze. 5 years disappeared in an instant. Those were almost the same words Vanessa had spoken the night Daniel left. What? Daniel turned. She didn't disappear from your life because she was ashamed. Claire stood slowly. What are you talking about? She contacted me 2 months ago. Claire's pulse quickened. Why? Daniel reached into his briefcase. He removed an envelope. She asked me to give you this if I ever saw you again. Claire didn't take it. Where is Vanessa? Daniel's expression changed. She died 3 weeks ago. Claire stopped breathing. Despite everything Vanessa had done, the words struck somewhere deep. 15 years of friendship couldn't be erased as easily as Claire had believed. Daniel placed the envelope on her desk. Cancer. Claire stared at Vanessa's handwriting. On the front were 4 words. For Claire. About Oliver. Claire's blood ran cold. Why is my son's name on this? Daniel shook his head. I don't know. Claire tore open the envelope. Inside was a letter. And a photograph. Claire looked at the photograph first. It had been taken outside the hospital on the night Oliver was born. Vanessa was standing beside a man Claire had never seen before. On the back, Vanessa had written one sentence. This is the reason Daniel chose you. Claire's hands began trembling. She looked up. Who is this man? Daniel stared at the photograph. Then his face went pale. For the first time since entering the office, he looked genuinely terrified. Claire. What? Daniel whispered. That man was my business partner. Claire's heartbeat accelerated. So, Daniel looked toward the closed door Oliver had walked through minutes earlier, then back at Claire. He died 5 years ago. Claire stared at him. When? Daniel swallowed. The night Oliver was born. And suddenly the betrayal Claire thought she had finally understood opened into something much darker. Claire stared at the photograph. What does this have to do with Oliver? Daniel's voice shook. My partner, Michael, discovered the missing money. He threatened to expose everything. Claire felt cold. And the night Oliver was born? He was coming to meet you. Why? To give you evidence. Daniel looked down. But he crashed on the way to the hospital. Claire opened Vanessa's letter. Her hands trembled as she read. Vanessa had known. Michael had contacted her first, hoping she would help Claire. Instead, terrified of losing Daniel and being implicated in the financial scheme, Vanessa had warned him. Daniel moved the money and disappeared. For 5 years, Vanessa had carried the guilt. But the final paragraph made Claire stop. Claire. Daniel believed Michael's evidence died with him. It didn't. I kept a copy. Everything is with my attorney. Proves you were deliberately framed. It also proves Daniel lied during the investigation. Claire slowly lowered the letter. Daniel saw her expression. What does it say? Claire looked at the man who had once controlled her entire world. It says the past finally caught you. His face drained of color. Claire. She pressed the intercom. Security, please come to my office. Daniel stepped forward. Wait. No. I can explain. You've had 5 years to explain. I was desperate. So was I. Her voice remained calm. I was desperate when our son couldn't breathe without machines. I was desperate when I had no home. I was desperate when I discovered the man I trusted had tried to bury me under his crimes. Security entered. Daniel looked toward the door. Then back at Claire. What about the job? Claire almost couldn't believe the question. There is no job for you here. 2 security officers approached him. Daniel's shoulders collapsed. Before leaving, he turned. Will you ever let me see Oliver? Claire was silent for a long moment. That won't be decided by what you want. Daniel's eyes filled. If you truly want to become someone worthy of knowing him, start by telling the truth. All of it. To the authorities. Daniel nodded faintly. Then he left. 6 months later, his testimony and Vanessa's evidence reopened the financial investigation. Daniel lost what remained of his reputation and faced the consequences he had spent years avoiding. Claire didn't celebrate. She had already won something far more important. Peace. One spring afternoon, she sat beneath a tree while Oliver raced across the garden chasing a red kite. Mom! Look! Claire laughed. I see you. The kite climbed higher. Oliver suddenly ran back and threw his arms around her. Are you happy, Mom? The question surprised her. Claire looked at the company building beyond the garden. Once she had believed success would be her revenge. It wasn't. This was. Her son's arms around her. A life nobody could threaten to take away. And the knowledge that she had rebuilt herself without becoming cruel. Yes, she whispered. I am. Oliver smiled and ran toward his kite again. Claire watched him go. 7 years earlier, she had believed Daniel was the foundation beneath her feet. When he left, she thought her life had collapsed. She had been wrong. He had only removed himself from it. Claire stood and watched Oliver lift the kite into the bright sky. Daniel had taken the savings, the house, her trust, her best friend. But the one thing he had never managed to take was Claire's future. Because sometimes the person who throws you away expects to find you exactly where they left you. And sometimes years later they return, only to discover that while they were running from the ruins they created, you were building an empire from them.